Hospital Porter's pride and dignity stop the New World Order. Welcome to Hapanwo TV. And welcome to this UFO Disclosure 2023. It's all gone quiet. That's right. Excuse me. I have to apologise to you. Once again, my voice is hoarse. I don't know how long it's going to last. I think maybe I had COVID without realising it. I mean, I took a test and it was negative, but I think maybe I had it without realising it. So I either give up making videos until this is better. It was about 2 months last time, or you just got to get used to it, I'm afraid. So fan mail from ladies coming up. All right. What's been going on? Well, I want to just give you a little bit of an update on the whole balloon UFO situation, which I covered in the last few videos in this series in the UFO field. I wasn't actually going to make this video because there's not an awful lot to tell. But I want to catch up on a bit of other extra-political news too. But basically, there's like it's kind of gone quiet. As I said, it's all gone quiet. Now, I did predict this might happen. What happened was that President Biden decided to do a speech. He did it last Thursday week, which is an entire week after the incidents happened. Now, I suppose you could call it a dereliction of duty, but we'll have a listen to the first bit of what he has to say. It's not. I'm not going to listen. He talks for a while and then he just wanders off stage to get his
our military.
Oops, sorry, I'll just get to the beginning of that. He just wanders off stage so he can be put to bed by Kamala or something. And so this is weird. It's weird listening to this. This is the first time the president has said anything for an entire week. I thought, to begin with, I think it's very strange, as I said in previous videos, that during the height of this incident, there seemed to be a contradiction in what was going on. And many other commentators have mentioned this. The government was giving out contradictory statements. And the contradiction was primarily between that of the military staff and the political executive. You had General Van Hack, head of Northern Command, and head of NORAD, saying he couldn't rule out extraterrestrials. Then you had old Biden diversity hire Karine Jean-Pierre saying, yes, we can rule out extraterrestrials. Biden himself was completely silent. And then he comes out with this. I'll show you the speech he made. There we go.
Our military, through the North American Aerospace Defense Command, so-called NORAD, closely scrutinized our airspace, including enhancing our radar to pick up more slow-moving objects above our country.
Some people have said that explains the entire phenomenon. Basically, the only reason that these three objects were detected after the Chinese balloon was because they changed the sensitivity settings of the radar. For example, they have Doppler radar, which can tell you which direction and speed an object is moving. They changed the sensitivity settings to pick up slower moving objects. Now, I don't believe that explains the entire phenomenon, but that's one thing that the skeptics have posited.
Around the world. In doing so, they tracked 3 unidentified objects, one in Alaska, Canada, and over Lake Huron in the Midwest. They acted in accordance with established parameters for determining how to deal with unidentified aerial objects in U.S. airspace. At their recommendation, I gave the order to take down these 3 objects.
You couldn't order a takeaway pizza, mate. Somebody else gave the order.
Due to hazards to civilian commercial air traffic, and because we could not rule out the surveillance risk of sensitive facilities.
Well, you did last time with the balloon, didn't you? You let it fly right across the country, transmitting messages, if it was a spy balloon, back to Beijing, didn't you? And then you only shot it down when it was over the sea.
Acted in consultation with the Canadian government. I spoke personally with Prime Minister Trudeau and from
Biden and Trudeau, a conversation between those two. How amusing it would be to be a fly on the wall with that.
Canada on Saturday. And just as critically, we acted out of an abundance of caution and an opportunity that allowed us to take down these objects safely. Our military and the Canadian military are seeking to recover the debris so we can learn more about these three objects.
There's a bit of an update on that. I'll come to it in a minute.
Our intelligence community is still assessing all three incidences. They're reporting to me daily and will continue their urgent efforts to do so, and I
But they won't necessarily tell us.
will communicate that to the Congress. We don't yet know exactly what these three objects were, but nothing right now suggests they were related to China's spy balloon program or that they were surveillance vehicles from any other country.
So what does that leave, Joe?
The intelligence community's current assessment is that these three objects were most likely balloons tied to private companies, recreation or research institutions studying weather or conducting other scientific research.
Oh, how do you know that? Oh, now you've worked that out now, have you? You knew what shape they were and they're cylindrical, coloured, and there was no obvious means of lift or propulsion. And now you suddenly come out with this: General Biden empties Yukon saucer. I think most of you get that reference.
When I came into office, I instructed our intelligence community to take a broad look at the phenomenon of unidentified aerial objects. We know that a range of entities, including countries.
Well, actually, it started way back under the. It was actually in the late Bush administration that ATIP stroke ORSAP actually began. It had nothing to do. This git had nothing to do with it. And then it's suddenly it's carried on through the Obama era, through the Trump era, under different names, AIM-SOG, and now Arrow. But really, this guy's been out of the loop with that sort of thing, I'd say.
These are research organizations, operate objects at altitudes for purposes that are not nefarious, including legitimate scientific research. I want to be clear. We don't have any evidence.
You're not clear, and you never will be.
That there has been a sudden increase in the number of objects in the sky. We're now just seeing more of them, partially because the steps we've taken to increase our radars, to narrow our...
So objects are flying, objects sometimes 8 feet across with octagonal strings, if that's what they are, hanging off them, regularly fly at 40,000 feet across the airways where commercial airliners regularly pass. Goodness me, Joe, I will never fly again.
Our radars. And we have to keep adapting our approach to dealing with these challenges. That's why I've directed my team to come back to me with sharper rules.
Well, there's been none since then, have there? There was those 3 in a row, and then literally within 48 hours of each other, then nothing.
For how we will deal with these unidentified objects moving forward, distinguishing between those that are likely to pose safety and security risks that necessitate action and those that do not. But make no mistake, if any object presents a threat to the safety and security of the American people, I will take it down.
You'd have to take yourself down then, Joe. Are you going to do that?
I'll be sharing with Congress these classified policy parameters when they're completed.
No, you won't. Congress, the Pentagon will share it with Congress under your nose, and they'll only tell you what you need to know.
And they'll remain classified so we don't give our roadmap to our enemies to try to evade our defenses. Going forward, these parameters will guide what actions we'll take while responding to unmanned and unidentified aerial objects. We're going to keep adapting them as challenges evolve, if it evolves. In addition, I've directed my national security advisor to lead a government-wide effort to make sure we are positioned to deal safely and effectively with the objects in our...
Safely and effectively. We've heard that little catchphrase before, haven't we? Safe and effective.
Airspace. First, we will establish a better inventory of unmanned airborne objects in space above the United States airspace and make sure that inventory is accessible and up to date. Second, we'll implement further measures to improve our capacity to detect unmanned objects in our
his amphetamines are wearing off.
Airspace. Third, we'll update the rules and regulations for launching and maintaining unmanned objects in the skies above the United States of America. And fourth, my Secretary of State will lead an effort to help establish a common global norm in this largely unregulated space. These steps will lead to safer and more secure skies for our air travelers, our military, our scientists, and for people on the ground as well. That's my job as your president, commander in chief. As the events of the previous days have
It was your job to get on top of this to begin with, which you didn't. This is literally a week after everything kicked off. All your underlings have been doing your work for you because you are a steward. You are the emperor has no brain. You are like a manager who's been put in there, or a figurehead, more like some kind of, because they couldn't find anyone better than you, which says a lot. Because they had to get rid of Trump.
shown will always act to protect the interest of the American people and the security of the American people. Since I came to office, we've developed the ability to identify, track, and study high-altitude surveillance balloons connected with the Chinese military. When one of these high-altitude surveillance balloons entered our airspace over the continental, check sensitive sites. This past Friday, we put restrictions on 6 firms that directly support the People's Republic capabilities.
Forget that.
Our diplomats will be engaging further. I want to thank you all.
He just goes on about China.
The other thing I want to point out is that we are going to keep our allies and the Congress contemporaneously informed of all we know and all we learn. And I expect to be speaking with President Xi, and I hope we're going to get to the bottom of this. But I make no apologies for taking down that balloon. Thank you very much.
We won't take any questions.
Welcome to Play 2.
See, he won't take any questions, will he? He won't take any damn questions. Oops. Bloody, see, no questions. He won't take questions anyway. I'm just going to try and see if I can find the page where he mentions, because apparently there's some people who come forward and said that they're the ones who launched the balloon. Oh God, it's like, I can't find it now. But there was these smiling people carrying a silver balloon saying, "It was us all along. It was us. We're to blame." I don't know if it's actually worth finding. It's just so ridiculous. I don't think it's actually worth locating. I can't find it now. But not to worry, guys. And that was old Uncle Joe there, Sleepy Joe himself, talking about what's that? That's literally, like I said, this was literally like a week after everything happened, and he mentions that there are recovery efforts underway. There was that guy in Alaska. Now I'm just going to check his channel to see if he has anything to add, because all right, guys, so I've just going to show you now the channel that I was talking about. It's this one here, Backcountry Alaska. Now this is the video I showed you on the previous. Now if you go back to the previous video I made on this subject, I can't remember which one it was, so I made about 4 of them, but this was the video. Full video of the object UFO recovery effort near Prudhoe Bay, Alaska, shot down. Hashtag shot down. Now, as I said, as Biden was saying there's a recovery effort for the debris underway. This is what he said at the time, which is last Thursday week. This was literally the following day, 13 days ago, or thereabouts. This same guy, Backcountry Alaska, uploaded this.
All right, guys. Story time.
This is fair use. This is fair use. I'm interested to see if how long this recovery effort took place. So I'm reproducing this under fair use guidelines. Okay, guys.
There's going to be a part 2 to this because it's a little bit long. Friday, February 10th, 9 a.m. One of my coworkers hears jets flying low and fast over the top of him. Thought it was weird. Didn't know what was going on. About an hour later, the news starts reporting about this object shot down over the northern coast of Alaska, right close to Dead Horse. Okay, Dead Horse is 10-minute drive away from here, 15-minute drive. Anyway, everybody at work starts talking about it, freaking out. Holy shit. We're sitting at lunch, 11:30 in the morning now, and we got the flight tracker up with a military C-130 burning circles over the ocean here, just 5-6 miles off the coast of where my work is, which is nuts. And we're sitting there watching it live. And as we're watching it live, it disappears completely. All the old track, everything just gone. We're just sitting there like, oh, damn, they pulled it right off. They don't want to know where they're at or what they're doing.
That's interesting. So these are various government military aircraft that were just removed from Flight Tracker. Now, obviously, a lot of combat aircraft are not on Flight Tracker, but normally you can get the tankers and things like that I remember because I used flight tracker myself when there was a UFO alert over the North Sea a couple of years ago, and now you couldn't see. They scrambled 2 jets from an airbase in Lincolnshire. They scrambled 2 quick response alert aircraft. These were like Typhoons. You couldn't see them on flight tracker, but you could see they sent up a tanker aircraft to support them in case they had to be up there for a long time, needed refueling. That you could see. It flew straight up to the coast of North Yorkshire. Then it started just orbiting in circles. Now, this guy's announced that they've all. This guy. I'll leave a comment on this afterwards because this guy's invaluable. He's been an essential witness to this event. He works on the oil drilling site on the Alaska North Slope, and this is just a few miles from where this incident took place. I'll let him continue.
So that was kind of crazy in itself, right? So later that afternoon is when the C-130s and helicopters start showing up. Here's a picture of the refueling operation they were doing.
Oh yeah,
the following day, which is Saturday, the 11th, we got C-130s and helicopters flying all day long.
C-130s are transport aircraft.
I got all those videos on my TikTok and earlier videos, all in order and everything. So go back.
Yeah, his TikTok channel actually just has the videos that were on the previous video he put on YouTube as a compilation, but the individual videos on his TikTok channel.
Watch those if you're curious. So that happens all day Saturday. Next day, Sunday, we got these high altitude jets flying and burning circles, and a few, like, not as much activity. It seemed like there's a couple C-130.
Sounds like these are high altitude reconnaissance aircraft, which means that they were very keen. They were very careful to keep intruders away. They probably closed the airspace and kept intruders away at that level.
And helicopters, but not nearly as much as it was the previous 2 days. They're all flying high. I have videos of all that stuff too. And you know, that day goes off with just a big jet just burning circles above Dead Horse and Prudhoe Bay all day long. It's got to be some sort of support aircraft for communications or something like that. I don't know. Maybe someone who's ex-military or in the military could tell us. And then Monday, absolutely nothing. Everybody's gone. Zero.
So that's 3 whole days that they were out there. 3 days of trying to pick up a balloon. Was it party balloons? Is what? It's the guy with the silver balloon. There was these guys standing there with silver balloons. 3 whole days to pick up something they said was the size of a car. Remember, it's on ice. Apparently, it landed on ice, which means it's not under the sea. The sea's completely frozen over. Very, very thick ice. You can drive on it. You can land aircraft on it. And it took 3 days. Bloody hell. This sounds like exactly like what was seen at Roswell in 1947. The whole area sealed off, large military presence over a period of a few days.
Activity at all. Same thing today. Today's Tuesday the 14th. It's freaking crazy. But, I mean, in and out, got whatever they were coming for, and that's it. Whatever the news is telling us now, if it's different from this story, I'm just a guy with a cell phone pointing at the sky. So
well, I'm very grateful to you. I really am. You've been an essential witness to this event, and your input has been invaluable because you've shown that for 3 days. I mean, this is an area where there's very few people around, so you're one of the few witnesses to this massive military activity for 3 whole days. And this is even more strange when you consider the news report that came out next, and I'll be coming to that in a minute.
You guys, let me know what you think, and please, if you would, go to my YouTube channel, subscribe to it, watch the full videos with the full length clips, and you can go back into my TikTok and watch everything as I was recording it, as it was happening. This is as real as it gets. Like, just a guy with a cell phone. I'm not a news media or nothing like that. So anyway, check it out. Let me know what you think.
Isn't that remarkable? That is a remarkable document, a remarkable historical document, I think. As I said, we know that there was a very, very developed, very long, very detailed, very considerable secret crash retrieval operation, at least on one of these 3 sites. I say 3 sites, not 4, because we all know about the Chinese balloon that shot down off Myrtle Beach. That doesn't matter. That's been highly publicized. There are photographs of that, but we obviously see it being popped by a missile. Steve Mumbling actually has a couple of videos on his channel about this. I was a bit disappointed actually that Steve hasn't done a little bit of a takedown of the UFO business. I mean, he left a couple of comments on my on my videos, which I covered in the comments reply video. But Steve himself has not actually made any videos on this particular subject. Otherwise, I was hoping to feature them in this video. But so at least one of these recovery sites, there's been a lot of activity, and the U.S. military has been engaged in at least 3 days of crash retrieval recovery of something. Now, if it's just a balloon, if it's just a, I don't know, silver, was it Biden said recreational private use balloons? You know, you could just send a guy with a Jeep onto the ice. He could go and pick it up and then put it in the back of the Jeep and just drive back. Why do you need like transport aircraft, high altitude reconnaissance aircraft, helicopters, tankers? A lot of activity. Either basically they were commandeering the airfield at Dead Horse, the nearby town. You got to ask that question, haven't you? You really, really do. So do sub to his channel, Backcountry Alaska. He's also on TikTok, so you can check him out. I don't watch TikTok very much, but he's on there too. So check that out. So that's very interesting. So that's, as I said, the videos this guy's made could turn out to be very important historical documents. And then the next thing that happened was this. Then before you know it, February the 16th, this is the story that broke. Here we go. Search, can you see that all right? You should be able to, yeah. Search for shot down UFO debris over Lake Huron suspended due to low chance of recovery. The search to recover the debris from the UFO, and they still use the term UFO, which is good, shot down near Michigan's Upper Peninsula, has been suspended, announced the Royal Canadian Mounted Police on Thursday. And blah-de-blah, blah-de-blah, Biden, bloody-blah, yeah, private research project, my posterior. The RCMP bloody suspended due to bad weather conditions and the low probability of recovery. It did say that search efforts would be continuing regarding the shot down object over the Yukon. Well, I'll come to that in a minute. After conducting extensive search in Lake Huron area with the assistance of the Canadian Coast Guard and other domestic and international partners, a decision was reached to suspend the search due to several factors, including deteriorating weather and a low probability of recovery. Okay, so they said they're going to, it's the suspend, it doesn't necessarily mean cancel, so they could come back to it. Now, obviously, like as I've said before, this recovery effort is going to be a lot more difficult than the object that was shot down over Myrtle Beach. I mean, the balloon, the Chinese balloon was shot down over the sea the 2 days earlier before this all kicked off. Now, that was deliberately shot down in very shallow water, so it'd be easy to salvage. This object that we're talking about here, this octagonal thing with what they call strings hanging off it, the pilot makes a lot of very other interesting observations of this, as you described in previous videos. Excuse me. This object has crashed in Lake Huron, one of the Great Lakes, at a very deep area. It's over the deepest point of its bed, which is actually over 700 feet deep. This makes recovering the debris far, far more difficult. Not impossible, but far, far more difficult. But it can be done. And there'd need to be a lot of preparations. A ship would have to go out to do a survey of the lake bed with sonar and a magnetic anomaly detector and things like that. Similar to the thing that Avi Loeb is currently using to try and find something on the seabed. Fat chance of that. But it could be done, and if it's important enough, they will make the effort to do it. But as I said, it will take planning and preparation. So I'm appealing for people who live in the area, because I don't know exactly how visible this location is out in the lake to the shore, because the Great Lakes are huge; they're like little seas. So it's possible this will be over the horizon; it won't be visible. But if anyone can see any strange activity going on there, ships just hanging around in the area, helicopters, things like that. Obviously, this will be a long way from shore, and if you get in a boat and try to go out there to try and find out what's going on, you'll probably be chased away. Probably the RCMP or the Coast Guard will chase you away. If that happens, that's even more suspicious, by the way. So if anyone's in the area and you have the ability to gather that information for me, could you please let me know? Because it's possible they are lying about this being suspended. Now, they said that the debris recovery effort would continue over the Yukon. It's very important. It's very important about this because they did say General Van Herk himself, and indeed John Kirby, said that they would know more when they'd analysed the debris about what these objects actually were. So let's go. Let's have a look at what happened next. What's this? Yeah, here we go. Right. This was February the 12th. Hang on. Here we go. This is February the 12th. Trudeau says teams hunting for debris of UFO shot down over Yukon. So they basically, the Prime Minister is saying that he sent the RCMP into this remote area of Yukon, which, as you heard before, was very much is a remote, very isolated area. As I said, about the size of England, and has a population of 40,000. So basically, it's almost all uninhabited. So recovery teams are on the ground, looking and trying to find and analyze the object. Trudeau told reporters before departing for a previously scheduled fundraising event in Yukon. Now, that's actually just a coincidence. I mean, even Anita Anand said this, that Trudeau had already been booked to attend an event in Yukon, and he was heading there. But this has got nothing to do with the UFO, so there's nothing suspicious about that, I don't think. I mean, anyone in the Canadian authorities who was searching for UFOs would probably want that gimp out the way anyway. So there you go. So I think you can see that, can't you? Yeah. Okay. So then this came out. That was February the 12th. This is February the 16th from the BBC. US and Canada abandon search for the 3 flying objects shot down. Well, they say for the 3 flying objects. That doesn't include the Chinese balloon. Now, the Chinese balloon, the first thing. Now, we know that's a lie about at least one of those objects, don't we? Well, this is what we expect from the big black cock. They're not going to tell us the truth. I'm only looking at them to find out exactly how they are lying to us, because a lot of people were saying, to me, "Oh, Ben, why'd you go to the BBC? Why'd you even listen to them? Why don't you just ignore them?" And I'm just trying to explain to you exactly why I use the BBC, just to see what they're saying. I'm just interested in how they're lying to us, basically. And we know they're lying because we know from that oil worker, that guy on the oil field, and his video, that they spent 3 days looking for the first object that was shot down. They didn't abandon the search. They actually did it. Now, let's read this article here. The US and Canada have abandoned the search for the three of the 4 flying objects shot down by US fighter jets during the first 2 weeks of February. Yes, the fourth one, of course, being the Chinese balloon, which you know all about. The US had found the remains of an alleged Chinese spy balloon that was shot down on the 4th of February. But officials now say they've ended the search for the 3 smaller objects. Well, they may have ended the search, but they've recovered one of them, I reckon. They spent 3 days they spent 3 bloody days, didn't they? Washington said these were probably civilian-owned balloons. Yeah, I bet they did, yes. Systematic searches over Alaska, Lake Huron, and Yukon have found no debris. What, they spent 3 days searching ice and they found nothing? Nothing at all? It must have been very important for them to find it. These searches were unsuccessful, despite the US military, federal agencies, and Canadian partners searching each area using airborne imagery, a variety of sensors, and below-the-surface scans. Right. That's very, very strange, isn't it? That's very strange considering what that oil worker was saying, because this was maybe they are sort of telling the truth in the sense that it was a systematic search that found no debris, but I find it hard to believe they found nothing considering the effort they went to and they knew where this thing was. I think it's more likely that they found something and they just don't want to tell us. The object shot down over Canadians' Yukon was not tied to a scenario that justifies extraordinary search effort, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police said in a statement. Other factors behind the decision to search include snowfall and a decreasing possibility that the object could be found. Oh, blimey. Honestly, they found pieces of the space shuttle Columbia when it disintegrated. They actually found all the bits and they put them back together in in a hangar. And they say increasing snowfall. Well, this is winter in Yukon. I say it's very cold, but still, you'd think that there was You'd think that they would go to a bit more effort if it's that important. We are talking about the first ever combat discharge of live ordnance in the United States airspace and Canadian airspace since World War II. We are talking about that. Literally since 1942. And ironically, of course, the 1942 discharge of live ordnance was because of, a UFO. I'm talking about the Los Angeles invasion. It's a very serious matter. It doesn't make sense. This does not make any sense. It really doesn't. That they would just say, "Oh well." I mean, we know for a fact that there was the systematic search over Alaska lasted for 3 days. Whatever they were looking for, they must have gone to a lot of effort. And as that guy said, the guy said who was there, it's more likely they found what they were looking for and then went home. Because if they're going to search for 3 days, why did they search for 3 days over ice and then gave up? They couldn't find what had been shot down over ice. I mean, things on ice are easy to spot. You know, Werner von Braun was finding meteorites in Antarctica. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. So there you go. That's where it left it after that. Okay. And then that was it for a while. And then this. All right, it's a bit more light-hearted, I must say. Let's have something a little bit more light-hearted. Uri Geller came up again. This is according to Uri Geller, is why the US shouldn't shoot down UFOs. Now, this guy, I might have guessed he would say something. He will say anything to keep his name in the papers. He really will. Shooting down Chinese spycraft is one thing, according to the famed psychic, but there are good reasons why we should tread lightly with UFOs. Here we go. This let's have a look here. Do I have to play? Is this? Can we play this? It's 11. Oh, I think it's 11 minutes. I'm not playing all that.
But the Pentagon left a mistake.
This walk from here.
There we go. All right, let's listen to this.
Known world figure in the studio today with us here, joining us from not far away. So I appreciate you coming.
This is fair use again. This is fair use. He says this is a far more cautious course must be steered, according to the British-Israeli celebrity. Shooting UFOs was a deadly mistake. Shooting down UFOs was a deadly mistake.
My museum is 6 minutes walk from here. David, thanks for inviting me. Ariel, thank you.
Yes, our Ariel Levine-Waldman as well. A big, our science and technology correspondent, also a big fan of yours. This discussion for anything. Great topic to have him come in. So he's joining us as well. So yeah, describe, what motivated you to write this latest piece saying, hey, to the U.S., look out.
Okay, well, first of all, that's on my social media, but what you were talking about, it was from the Jerusalem Post. Look, basically, let's put an order into this. UFOs and the balloons. First of all, is my opinion that those Chinese spying balloons should have been shot down the second they entered America.
I'll get on with it.
Delivering missile
get on with it.
UFOs that the Pentagon released not long ago, a few months ago, footage that was filmed from the cockpit of their fighter pilots. You can hear the pilots screaming, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah, you're talking about the ATIP footage.
What is it?
That they have no answer for.
No answer. These UFOs are flying in such speeds that we have no such technology. Are visiting our planet. For Lopez Portillo took me to a Mexican pyramid. This is what I did. They contacted the CIA.
Sorry, I'm sorry to skip over this. I mean, you can go and this is on I-24 News. You can go and check this out and watch it for yourself. It's just this guy rambles on so much. He goes off topic all the time. Geller is just like he's a waffler. He's such a bloody waffler.
To test me. You won't believe who the CIA sends to convince me to leave Israel. This man, Captain Edgar Mitchell. I freak out when he sends me a photograph. It says, Uri, we want to test you. Come over to America to test me. You won't believe who the CIA sends to convince me to leave Israel. This man cannot understand how I did what I did. With all kinds of tools.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back because this is interesting. I didn't know about this.
Found him a navigational equipment. Now, why am I so sure that they're extraterrestrials? Okay. Look, Mossad did not understand how I did what I did. They contacted the CIA.
They used him to spy during the 6-day war with Egypt. He was a remote viewer for Mossad. I mean, he kept this quiet. He told John Ronson, the British journalist, And then he says, but if you repeat this to anyone, I will just deny it, John. I will tell you, John, but I will deny it if you say anything to anyone. Well, John Ronson reported it in his book, The Men Who Stare at Goats. And but now Geller's come clean to say he was part of a remote viewing program, which is very interesting, considering that Mossad and the CIA denied this even existed. I mean, I recommend I think the film Third Eye Spies is very well worth watching. I know we're going a bit off topic here. That we know that this guy, well, he'll tell you in a minute, but he went to the Stanford Research Institute. But there's a connection to Edgar Mitchell I didn't know about.
To test me. You won't believe who the CIA sends to convince me to leave Israel. This man, Captain Edgar Mitchell. Wow. I freak out when he sends me a photograph. Says, Uri, we want to test you. Come over to America. I fly over to Palo Alto, Stanford Research Institute today, Stanford University. They test me, and I always show off with this. You'll read this.
Yeah, we know, but that's right. Edgar Mitchell, of course, I believe was connected to the CIA. He said to, I think he said to Bruce De Palma, he warned him not to get involved in free energy research. He said, he basically said, your life is in danger if you get involved in free energy research. And indeed, De Palma was killed in a mugging, quote unquote, a little bit later on. So yeah, Andrew Johnson's done a thing about Edgar Mitchell. But it's interesting. I didn't know Edgar Mitchell was involved in this, because I know he had this thing called the Noetic Sciences Institute, which may be how he got in touch with Geller. But Geller went across to the United States. This is kind of when he started. This is just before he became famous across the world. But at that time, he'd already been working as a remote viewer for Mossad. Now, the CIA wanted to recruit him, so he got involved in the Stanford experiments with Russell Targ and, ta-da, Hal Puthoff. Yes, a young, bushy-haired Hal Puthoff. This was in 1972. Yeah, he's been doing this his whole life. And basically, the whole thing. Well, according to Bill Nye, the science guy, the skeptic, the project was cancelled because they couldn't find any evidence. But well, in fact, I think the project just went onto the black budget. I'll let him carry on.
The CIA's conclusion.
This is the actually very famous line, because you were investigated by the CIA, who says, as a result of Geller's success in this experimental period, we consider that he has demonstrated his paranormal perceptual ability in a convincing and unambiguous manner.
Now, going back to the UFOs, one day Mitchell tells me...
a diploma, essentially.
The best resume statement I've ever seen.
Mitchell tells me one day, Edgar Mitchell, the sixth man, Apollo 14, who walked on the moon. Uri, there's somebody very important in NASA.
Well, he wasn't the sixth man to walk on the moon. He was, well, you know what I think about that. You've watched the previous video I uploaded.
Secret base that wants to meet you. I said, fine. Who is he? And he says to me, it's Dr. Werner von Braun. I say, what? Dr. Werner von Braun? What?
The last card, Carol. Remember, he was the one who warned Carol Rosin. This is the father of American rocketry.
Wants to meet me.
Father of the space program in the US.
He was a Nazi.
Well, yeah.
I mean, but he was a rocket genius. He built the V2, flew from Germany, fell in London, killing thousands of people, but the Kennedy clan said, no, we won't take him to court. We will bring him to America.
Yeah, Project Paperclip, that's right. His war crimes record was really wiped clean.
By the way, most people don't know this. The Americans brought lots of Nazi...
Operation Paperclip.
Exactly. Anyhow.
What did von Braun tell you?
Well, I said, I'm Israeli. Half of my family were murdered by Nazis, but my curiosity killed me. I said, let's go. I had a CIA camera, a Minox camera, that I gave to my brother-in-law, and I said to him, Shippy, the minute we enter Werner von Braun's office, you take a picture. Shippy captured this photograph. This is Mitchell, Werner von Braun, a CIA man, and me. So Werner pulls out a piece of metal, and he says to me, Uri, touch this. Tell me what you feel. I put my fingers on it and I say, wow, it doesn't feel like it's from here. Then he says, come with me. Do you see this door behind him? Werner von Braun takes me into his personal office. There's a safe in the office. He opens the safe. I see a piece of metal. I've never seen such a color. Pulls it out. It's not heavy. Says, Uri, touch this. Tell me what you feel now. I put my hand on it and I say, Werner, this is not from here. He says, you're right. This is a piece of a UFO that crashed on our planet. You know, I'm mind blown because as a child, I used to sneak into movie theaters in Tel Aviv.
Well, to be honest, I mean, I know I take the piss out of Uri Geller quite a lot, but this is fascinating stuff, and I can well believe this is true. I've heard there's so many other people have talked about this. I don't know it's true. He could be making the whole damn thing up, but do remember this guy was so well connected in the CIA, which has only come out since 2013.
To see films on extraterrestrial life, and this is coming from the mouth of Werner.
Funny, he calls himself a mystifier now.
Brown, but this is not the end of the story. Let me finish.
Speechless, yeah.
He takes me to the parking lot. Shippy takes this photograph. He puts me in his limousine. He says to me, Werner says to me, sit next to me. Now, there are red lines here that I can't talk, but we drive to a huge concrete building. Nothing was written on the building. It was either a Marine or a soldier lets us down. We go 3 floors, descend into the belly of the building. In the corridor, there are hooks with Antarctica coats on. He puts one on, he lets me put one on. And David, he leads me into a refrigerator room. Huge.
Oh, don't tell me.
Now, what I see in that room, I faint. Let me tell you this. Bibi knows about this. Obama knows about this. Donald Trump knows about it. In the grand scale of things, the American government are still not telling the truth. They're releasing bits of information here and there. So that's a story.
You're saying this is a firm, that there's a group in the U.S.
What
that
did he see?
Some elected officials, but not all, that firmly
What did he see that made him faint? Come on, Uri, speak up.
knows about the visitation or maybe even working with extraterrestrials on this planet. And it goes as far as the Israeli.
Why don't these people say so? Why don't these people tell us? Why don't they ask him that question? Oi, Uri, what did you see?
The government as well.
Well, you know that there is an Israeli author who was the head of the space.
Chaim Eshed.
Exactly.
Oh, Hamish. Oh, I was going to bring up Hamish Head.
And tell us, what was he?
So Chaim Eshed was the head of Israel's space program in the 80s. He headlined making Israel a satellite power. But a couple of years ago, he made headlines worldwide when former Canadian defense minister
space security. And he said that the Americans are negotiating with aliens.
That's jaw-dropping.
Unbelievable.
We know about that.
This is exactly what they did for the CIA, but not one drawing, hundreds in shielded rooms. Drawings were done in Langley, Virginia, and I was in California, in Palo Alto, and I duplicated the drawing. If you really believe that I can get it, I will get it. Look into my face, visualize your drawing. Give me a moment.
Oh, is he going to do one right now?
Yes. Just visualize a drawing, because sometimes my hand gets it exactly the same size. Don't look at what I'm drawing. Just give me, it'll be 40, 50 seconds. Yeah, continue.
No, he's doing a live demonstration here.
Stare at me and think. Okay,
All right, I'll tell you what. I'm going to leave it there. All right, bit of a cliffhanger, but you can go to I24 News and you can watch this video yourself. It's just a bit off. It's too off topic to keep going on to that. Okay, but anyway, that there is very interesting, and it doesn't surprise me actually that Geller's involved with the CIA. I mean, I didn't realize that Dr. Edgar Mitchell was involved directly, because Mitchell, of course, it sort of fits though. If it kind of the pieces kind of fit considering Mitchell's background. Bart Sabrell catches him talking about the CIA himself. I mean, he has secretly, Bart Sabrell, very famously, just after Mitchell's kicked him out of the house, very famously, here's his son. So shall we call the CIA and have him waxed, whatever waxed means? And Bart makes a big joke about it at the end of his movie. Astronauts Going Wild. Yeah, so that's interesting. I actually interviewed Bart Sabrell a couple of months ago. Yeah, I've changed my mind about that guy. I know I used to slag him off, and I used to think his methods were counterproductive, but now I'm not so sure. Now I actually think he may well have uncovered something very important indeed. Okay, now we have to examine what the UFO community's been saying about this. There's been very, very divided opinion within the UFO fraternity about what this is. I mean, they go from all kinds of extremes, such as, it's aliens, it's definitely aliens, this is disclosure, And I was a bit annoyed actually, because some people tried to misrepresent me, and as you know from the last comments reply video, several commenters tried to misrepresent me and claim that this was my position, when everything I had said actually contradicted that. My own position was very, very different. But there are people who are saying, yes, it's aliens, it's disclosure, etc. I mean, Geller was sort of hinting on that. Others, obviously the UFO skeptics are saying, no, it's nothing, it's just balloons and things like that. It's just balloons. Biden said it was a balloon, so it is a balloon. Jean-Pierre said it's not ET, and she made a joke about it. So there you go. Take them at their word. Just believe them. They're not the ones making the claim. So they can say whatever they like, and what they say is the default truth until proven otherwise. And I've explained before what a fallacy that is. But just watch my skeptic talk. You'll find that interesting. However, of course, there are the skeptics, their position. There are the believers, the UFO community, including people like me. I am taking this seriously as possibly extraterrestrial without, I believe, being excessively gullible. Yet, of course, there are the backslappers, and the backslappers are going to come out and say all kinds of things. Now, I'm not going to talk about alien scientists. He's done like a whole load of videos about this, where he. Well, I mean, I've covered alien scientist on a previous video, so I don't need to say any more about his position. He has made a couple more videos that don't really say anything different. But we're going to have to go to Stephen Cambion. I don't like doing that, but I have to, because he's done a video. He's done this video here. Balloon mania, alien invasion, government psyop, Chinese weapons delivery system. These are all rhetorical questions, apart from certainly the first one is not. Now this guy, Truth Seekers. I mean, you can sub to him if you want. I mean, I sub to him. He's a hate watch of mine, and I say maybe hate watch is too strong, but he is a complete knob. This guy, he's set himself up as this judge. He's established himself as this judge, jury, and executioner of the UFO community. If you look through this, he actually contributes nothing to the subject. He just picks holes in he just orbits ufology, picking holes in it wherever he can. He pontificates over the characters of various people in it, usually unfairly. And but I'm gonna, despite everything I said, Cambion, please don't sue me or flag this video. I'm claiming fair use on this. You yourself are always complaining when other people flag your videos and take out copyright strikes against you. So I hope you'll be magnanimous enough not to do it, despite the fact that I am a critic of yours, and I make no apologies for that. But this is his. Let me just go forward a little bit to hear what he has to say. So it's an ad. Here we go. Yeah, praise the.
Salutations and welcome back, friends. I'm happy to be back.
He's so bloody look at his command center.
After a weekend away.
He's so bloody pretentious. He really is.
And what a weekend it had while monitoring this situation.
Now, this is a very, very long video. I won't be able to go to all the points. I might have just summarized some of the points from this video. Hopefully I'll catch him saying some stuff.
That there is an absolute mountain, a mudslide of disinformation, fake information, misinformation, and grifting going on. And
grifting, eh? You're the one who keeps saying praise the cash.
The best example I can give of this too, and this, by the way, is not just the alternative media, those sources in conspiracy land that you tune into to get their take on things. It appears that across all aspects of the media, there is a great deal of misinformation, disinformation, and inconsistent reporting going on about these objects.
Well, he's certainly got a point there, because of course the reporting, the way this whole phenomena has been reported for an entire week was very, very contradictory, very, very, very unprecedented levels of different stories, backtracking, strange revelations and counter revelations. And yes, that is very, very weird indeed. I mean, I mean, it's actually really quite surreal, I thought. In fact, if you read UFO Truth magazine, there's an article by me in the next edition, which is coming out in a few days, called Objects Galore, where I go into this in more detail. I describe watching the news as a form of surrealism. So he's actually correct there.
First of all, multiple or most news organizations, especially in the mainstream media, are reporting all of the objects as UFOs. Well, even as high-ranking...
Well, they are. Stephen, they are unidentified flying objects. Now, I know you're going to claim that some people came forward, and I mean, I won't be able to, this is a long video, I won't be able to find the actual spot. But Stephen then later claims that several high-ranking military officers came forward and said they were like silver balloons. And he apparently has some insider, some secret insider military witness who told him it was just balloons. This is what he always gets angry when other people say, I've got a secret insider. I can't tell you his name, but he gave me this information and that information. Oh, he works in the government. He works in the CIA. Oh, I know him, but I can't tell anyone. He always gets very angry when other people do that. But he's doing the same thing now. He's also, I won't be able to find the actual spot. I might be able to find the actual moment where he talks about Chuck Schumer. Let's have a look.
Senators and military sources are confirming that the objects were balloons.
Well, Stephen, they haven't confirmed that at all. They have said, for example, Jean-Pierre said they were not ET. Chuck Schumer, well, we'll come on to Chuck Schumer in a minute. But the news are reporting two different things. So why do you believe one and not the other? It's all very confusing, and I think it's meant to be. And why did it take him so long to tell us it was balloons?
And look at this reporting. Well, this one was shaped like an octagon. This one was spherical shaped. All of those things.
Yeah, while calling them objects.
Can be balloons.
Yes, they can, but why didn't the government tell us they were balloons? Why didn't the government just say these are balloons? That's all they have to say. They don't have to say whether they're Chinese or Russian or some secret thing from Area 51 with some kind of spying device on it that went astray. They don't have to say that. They just have to give us their designation. If they don't want to tell us they're balloons and give us their designation, why don't they just lie to us? Why don't they just tell them it was a helicopter? Why don't they just say they were weather balloons? I mean, it's not the first time they've lied to us, Stephen. They don't normally have any trouble before. I don't know why you're going to take their word for it. Why are you taking their word for it? Just because it tells you what you want to hear?
So immediately I was perplexed by the amount of strange, let's just say, disconnects in reporting.
Well, I have to agree with you there. I mean, I was perplexed as well. But you know, you are the one who has reached into this maelstrom of information, and you've wrestled out some kind of narrative, and you're now standing proudly over your catch on the bank, lying there. I hope you like this metaphor, by the way. Proudly claiming that this is some kind of conclusion, some kind of solid conclusion, and you've worked out the truth. I haven't done that. You're doing that. You're pulling what you think is the true narrative out of this contradictory situation. People turn to me and say, Ben, you're 100% sure it's aliens. How can you be? When I never even said that.
How is it that Senator Chuck Schumer and several others I've found confirmed at the time when there was three?
I'd like to also add, I mean, Stephen, if you're watching this, I hope you'll take this on board. There was a time when the best way to be rational was to say, when someone comes up to you with a claim, you say to them, okay, show me the evidence. That was the ultimate way to be rational. Now it's different. That's not the best way to be rational. Now there's another standard of rationality, which is if someone comes up to you with a claim, you say, do not show me the evidence. I don't want to see the evidence. I know it's not aliens, and I'm not even going to look at it because I'm so sure. The latter person is considered more rational than the former. You know, Stephen, have you ever asked yourself why that is? You know, I mean, it's a shame because, you know, you're obviously not stupid. You've got intelligence. I mean, I took the mickey out of you saying praise the cash. I don't actually object to people earning a living off their YouTube channel. I don't. If you can earn a living off it, good for you. The Communist Party didn't take power in the night. You know, it's up. You know, but then if you're going to do that, then don't criticize other people for doing the same. People like Jeremy Corbell and Stephen Greer. Well, I know they make a lot more than you, and yeah, I share some of your criticisms of Greer, but just go easy on these double standards, mate. All right.
3 balloons. Pardon me. We'll call them objects for now.
Don't you think that's odd? They call them objects.
The time when there was 3 objects shot down, Senator Chuck Schumer, several others, and several military sources were confirming that the objects were balloons.
Yep, and they're definitely telling the truth, are they, Stephen? They're definitely telling the truth.
Friends, by definition, if the objects are balloons, they are not unidentified.
Correct. But are Schumer and the others telling the truth? Do they even know? Chuck Schumer is a member of the Senate Select Intelligence Committee. Now I know this is later in the video. I'll never be able to find the actual spot. You say, well, he knew about this. Chuck Schumer, who's a senator and is a member of the Senate Intelligence Select Committee, who will have been briefed on the UAPs. He'll have had the classified annex from Arrow, which is the Airborne Anomalous Resolution Organization or some office, Airborne Anomalous Resolution Office or something like that. You later on claim in this video, well, I won't bother showing it because this video is too long. But you say, well, he knew because he's a member of this committee. That's how he knew these were just balloons. Well, Stephen, that can't be how he found out they were just balloons, because if that was the case, he would not be allowed to comment to the media. He's not in a position to comment any information he gets from being a part of this committee. This is what Stephen Bassett was talking about when he was briefing these committees. This is the whole point of those hearings that happened a few months ago. You see what I mean? The Congress and Senate, the Congress people, the House committees and the Senate committees are held sub rosa. They're not allowed to talk to the media. So whatever Chuck Schumer has said about these definitely being balloons, he either heard this from another source or he's just pulling it out of his fat ass. I suspect the latter, because this guy's not to be trusted. He was very dishonest during the time when Trump was being impeached, things like that. So really, you should question these things a bit more carefully.
Either whatever term you want to use, if you prefer the older unidentified flying object, a balloon, once identified as a balloon, is not an unidentified flying object. A balloon, once identified as a balloon, is not an unidentified aerial phenomenon.
We get the point, Stephen. We get the point.
Neither of those terms fit. And yet somehow most or all members of the media were still using the terms UAP and UFO interchangeably. Now, I have my own suspicions of why that is. After all, I think if you look at it from a perspective of clicks and views and traffic, right, you're going to get more clicks and views on U.S. shoots down UFOs than you are with the same story saying U.S. shoots down balloons.
Not really. I mean, they were Stephen. Look how they were milking the clicks off the Chinese balloon that was shot down the previous week. Look at how they all poured. All the media went straight to Myrtle Beach with their cameras, with telephoto lenses, to capture the popping of the Chinese balloon over the sea off South Carolina. Believe me, if these were balloons, these are more balloons coming over. They could sell you a massive story. The media could make an absolute bomb selling a massive story about mass Chinese balloon invasion. I think you got this completely wrong, and I think maybe you're seeing this whole subject the wrong way. Quite frankly, you really are. I think you're misunderstanding on a larger level its entire phenomenon. Anyway, that's enough of that. That's a transformative work, Stephen, so don't be a hypocrite and flag my video for showing it, please. Okay, so that's Stephen Cambion done. Okay, so what's next? Right. I'm just finding what's next in my notes. All right, now this is a slightly separate subject. This was sent to me by Neil Geddes Ward. He actually let me know about this. He just sent me a link. I mean, I don't think I'm breaching anything confidential there, because all he wanted to me know this was happening. It is a video which apparently shows something it's got a very intriguing title. Now, I don't know how real this is, but I'll show it to you anyway. Someone has just reported that something big is happening right now in Spain. So let's have a look at this. Again, this is a transformative work. I'm pleading fair use on this. It's criticism and review, and it's private study and research. Free distribution.
Some interesting photographs have just been uploaded to social media, showing what appears to be a silver object in the shape of a disc. Oddly enough, the metal object was captured by a local who noticed the object in the middle of a field in Spain.
Now, it could be a salad bowl. Remember the Margier incident? Remember that big storm in a teacup? But we'll let him carry on.
The eyewitness, who was able to get close to the object, said that it had a perfect metallic design and was in the middle of a field inside a private enclosure. This was the closest they could get. But they
It's very reflective, yeah.
did say that it looked as though there was a doorway or opening that went directly into the object. What's interesting is that this photograph was posted just after multiple objects were seen above Spain, with eyewitnesses using the same description that matched this object, noting that the odd-looking aircrafts were shiny and in the shape of a disc. When looking at the data from websites that track these strange aircrafts, it becomes apparent that these sightings are not a one-off and match the descriptions of other strange aircraft seen in other countries. Oddly enough, residents in Spain have said that they have the ability to just hover motionless without making a sound. These sightings have only increased in recent years, which has led to people to label areas across Spain as somewhat of a hotspot. One user said the following: "This is the first time that I've seen this photograph, and it does seem to match descriptions given by eyewitnesses. I live in the south of Spain, and on various occasions there's been photographs uploaded to social media that show objects of all sizes hovering in the sky. No one ever seems to know what they are or where they are coming from, but it seems like in recent years these reports have been on the increase."
Yeah, definitely. Let's see if it carries on. Well, and I'm interested to see if there's any more information about the witness and the object, things like that.
Into my journey, I could see that the overall shape of this thing was a disc. Some of the recent photographs to emerge show what this adds to the eerie nature of these aircrafts and causes some to say that we have no aerial vehicle that's able to do this. It's not just Spain where these aircrafts are being witnessed. Back in 1964...
Aircraft is a double plural. It's like Gollum saying hobbits is... Sorry, I'm being pedantic again.
On the 13th of December, a woman from Brazil claimed to have witnessed 3 metallic grey circular saucers hovering over the city, directly in the airspace above and around her. About the objects was the fact that they made absolutely no sound.
It's, obviously, the problem with UFO photos is that they're either too good or not good enough. They're either fuzzy blobs like this one. Usually the person taking the photograph is excited and alarmed, and their hands are shaking as they're holding the camera and things like that. Or they're too good, and then you could say, "Oh, that's photoshopped." And unfortunately, in this day and age, you might be right. So, as I've said before, photographic evidence doesn't really carry the same weight it used to.
Whatsoever, and appeared to travel with an ease impossiblehood in a brilliant glow, was made obvious to investigators who showed up for additional questioning.
Is that a Tic Tac?
According to the Air Force files, the neighborhood additional questioning.
That's a Tic Tac. Look, it's got a. It's even got the little legs, which were described by the witnesses. It's got a flat back, but that could be a Tic Tac.
According to the Air Force files, the neighborhood was filled with pools of liquid molten metal that had cooled rapidly.
God, sounds like Maury Island.
And formed hardened puddles of a silvery material.
I'll have to get some samples of that.
When the investigators questioned the woman, she claimed to have experienced the event during the night, though researchers believed that for her to have witnessed the level of detail she had seen, the craft must either have been observed during the day or generated at night. But in spite of the darkness, the witness had observed the objects in detail, had performed fantastic acrobatics over the neighborhood.
So we'll just skip through this. This whole thing is 8 minutes long, and you can go to this channel here, Unexplained Mysteries, and you can check it out for yourself.
The fact that the metal was described as dry-rated, and rewrote the event with the following statement. According to the more generally accepted and more probable version, the incident occurred in the morning in full daylight. The housewife was feeding her poultry when she heard a noise on the ground, circular or metallic craft.
That's it, you see there.
The claim of the craft stooping low, lighting up the area, emission of light.
That's what I think
their
might be a
high-speed
tic-tac.
nature, spontaneous. So, what do you make of these strange sightings and encounters? And have you ever seen a mysterious flying aircraft? Be sure to leave your questions and answers in the comment section below.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. So thanks to Neil who sent me that. That's the video there. Something big is happening right now in Spain. If there are any this was 5 days ago. If there are any updates, I'll let you know, of course, in another video. Okay, guys. Now, as you know from previous videos, several of the people I follow outside the UFO field have commented on this and made some rather stupid judgments. These include people whose judgments I trust on other subjects, such as Sargon of Akkad and Paul Joseph Watson. However, now I want to go on to another gentleman who's made this was actually a few months ago. He made a somewhat more general assessment of this situation, and he did it in, he did it a lot more wisely, and I'm very, very interested to cover this. Now, I've got a feeling I covered this at the time. I can't remember. It won't hurt to repeat myself over this issue. But this is a very, very interesting situation because the debate over whether or not UFOs exist, like the paranormal and conspiracy theories in general, both sides make converts from the other. So we'll have people who are former skeptics who become believers, who actually come onto our side of the fence. There is also there's also people who are on our side who believe in UFOs and believe in the paranormal and conspiracy theories, who become skeptics. People like Neil Sanders, who I've mentioned before. Skeptics change their minds. Some do it in a very sneaky way, like Professor Simon Holland, as I mentioned in a previous video. He's kind of trying to rewrite his own history and hoping no one noticed, so he won't have to have a big bite of humble pie. But others do things more openly. People like Michael Shermer, I think, is on the fence. There's a couple of others, and these are the skeptics who then become believers. There are a couple who do that. Now, one of the most unexpected is Sam Harris. Now, I've mentioned Sam Harris a few times because normally I'm very critical of him, but he has shown he recently did an interview with Russell Brand where he displayed a surprising amount of integrity, rationality, and intellectual honesty, and he even made some of the same points that we've made long before. And I think he's kind of been handed a pass to do this because of the way this sudden change in the way the mainstream media portrays UFOs since 2017. And I think that may be kind of it motivated him. And I'll play you the video in a minute, but I'm quite impressed with, maybe I'll go through the video and I'll let you know what I think. And we'll just analyze it as we go through it. I'm just going to show you the video now. Here we go. Okay, so you should be able to hear this. I've shared system audio. You should be able to see that now.
It's as simple as that.
We may be faced with another problem on this front that will be interesting for people like ourselves to navigate. So the other shoe hasn't quite dropped here, but there was recently an article in the Washington Post. This may have been covered many other places, but I saw it there. Again,
this is fair use. It's a transformative work for the for the purposes of private study and review, free distribution, not for profit, and commentary and review.
The Office of Naval Intelligence and the Pentagon are scheduled to brief Congress about the wealth of data that the government has on UFOs.
Yeah, that was interesting. We covered that, didn't we, on this channel? I did a live blow by blow thing of the entire event.
All right.
Right, and stuff leaked or was leaked purposely.
I should add, actually, Russell Brand has more recently, he's interviewed Jeremy Corbell. So that's interesting. That was an interesting interview, actually. Russell Brand, he's getting more and more based every day
during this last year, and got surprisingly little attention. But the rumors that I've heard, and again, this is still just in the mode of rumors, but perhaps soon to be confirmed, is that our intelligence services and the Pentagon are going to tell Congress that this is real, right? This is a real phenomenon, right? This is not, it's not that UFOs have been explained to the satisfaction of the government. On the contrary,
they'd have to change their name if
they
had.
they have seen that there's technology that really can't be of human origin, right? That they don't.
You heard him correctly. There's technology that can't be of human origin. This is one of the four horsemen. This is like a skeptic, atheo-skeptico materialist hero.
Don't think this is the Chinese or the North Koreans or some other part of human society producing technology that is strange, and they can't write it off as anomalies of perception. I mean, there's just too much radar data. There's too much satellite imagery at this point, and the stuff they're sitting on that's top secret is much better than anything that's been leaked out, right? So this is, again, this is still something that's just...
I'm cynical when someone says this cannot be of human origin. That sounds to me like a 50s movie.
Yeah, no, exactly. And many of the details I've heard also sound very goofy, but this is probably premature to even talk about this. But, I have someone reached out to me and has assured me that, I'm going to be on a Zoom call with, former heads of, the CIA and Office of Naval Research and the people,
This is another guy. See, he's got a secret insider. I mean, this is a really, really weird hearing Sam Harris talk like this. It really is. And I've slacked this bloke off a lot. His comment about Hunter Biden's laptop was despicable. But what's this actually was earlier than that. This was a year ago, as you can see. But wow, I mean, the other skeptics are going to go nuts over this. I mean, they're going to go crazy. They're going to, this is really, it just makes you wonder, right? The skeptics are now faced with this choice, and we know Professor Simon Holland has made a choice to jump ship. He's climbing into the lifeboats of Philip Glass's Titanic before it goes down. Sam Harris seems to want to do the same now, but he's doing it with a lot more sincerity and a lot more honesty.
Bona fides are very easy to track, and they're concerned about the messaging around all of this to the public and dampening down panic and conspiracy theories. But what is
now, as you know, the government always think we can't tell them. Well, they'll panic. Like, they've got such a low opinion of us. They really have. They really think we're just a bunch of like little kids. Damping down conspiracy theories? No, I don't think so. It's going to do the opposite. There's this meme I shared the other day. Instead of calling them conspiracy theories, let's just call them spoiler alerts.
Being promised here is a disclosure that is, frankly, either the most alarming or the most interesting thing in the
disclosure. He said it.
World, depending on how you take it, but it's not a representation of the facts that will give scientific skeptics any comfort, and that's just.
It actually takes a lot of guts to do this, to talk about what he's talking about. It really does, because he is inside that. See, he's inside that whole milieu. He wants to talk like us, and he's trapped behind enemy lines now. He's surrounded by. It's easy for me to say things like this because I'm surrounded my social life. I'm both in terms online and my companions in this life I'm living are all on my side. Sam is essentially, he's in a very, very different world to me, in which not only is he much more famous and has a higher profile, he's surrounded by people who are going to, some of them, I think more and more of them are going to come over to his way of thinking. Skeptics will convert over this issue, but a lot of them won't. We know from our own experience with people on both sides of the debate that many people are extremely close-minded. Many people are extremely doctrinaire and entrenched in their worldview. And they attack people who disagree with them, regardless of how right they are rationally. And Sam is now in a position where Sam is very vulnerable to this because he's within this skeptic milieu. So it actually does take courage for him to do this.
We're faced with the prospect of having to apologize to the people we've been laughing at for the last 50 years.
You are, Sam. Apology accepted. I forgive you. That's incredible, though, they do that. To be honest, it is absolutely incredible that he's talking like that. it's remarkable. It must say. It must say. You know, all kinds of weird stuff is going on. I mean, let me just give you some example of. And that's someone's texting me. Who's this? Oh, it's Miles. Yeah, I've had a text message from Miles while I'm recording. Miles, if you're watching, hello. How are you? Let me just find. This was this. I think I might have mentioned this before, but just in case I didn't. Where is it? Here we go. Let me just show you the article here. I might as well just show you the article here. I don't want this video to be too long. Jacques Vallée. Look, Friday the 6th of January. This is literally this article dropped. Literally, let's have a look. This is the Mail Online. What's the published 29th of December? Oh my God. I hadn't even seen this. I think I might have been even recording my New Year disclosure video entitled "So Is That It?" It was literally hours after I finished. I just uploaded that. I came across this. The exclusive Pentagon ordered to reinvestigate 1945 crash of mysterious avocado-shaped UFO dubbed the Roswell before Roswell. This is in 1945 at the time of the Trinity's tests. This is based on the book that this guy Jacques Vallée, famous veteran ufologist. If you're into UFOs, you'll be familiar with him. This is an artist's impression of what happened at the Trinity test site. This is the material. This is the book that he co-wrote with Paula Harris. Apparently, they're a couple now, which I wish them luck. If that's the case, good. I hope they're very happy together. This is this book. I haven't read this book yet, but it's one of these books you've got to read before you die, kind of thing. And I've got so many of those that I'm not going to live long enough to read them. But this one I'll try and prioritize, because funny enough, the whole Arrow thing. They then, as you know, they they kind of like they changed the rules on the whole. What's it called? That's it. What's he want? Oh, Miles. It's all Miles. Yeah. They changed the rules on the. What was it? I've got the name of the act, the Defense something Appropriation Act or something, and the Gillibrand Amendment, the Rubio Amendment, things like that. Because originally they would go back to the start of Project Sign, which is 1947. They then, for some reason, pushed it back 2 more years. It might even say this in the article. It may say that in the book. But anyway, Paula and Jacques have actually interviewed a couple of people. They were just kids at the time, but they remember it. They're now old people, and they remember it well. It's so this is a very, very strange situation indeed. But yeah, they pushed it back 2 years. Yeah, they pushed it. This is really, really weird when you're considering this. This is like more than 75 years ago. And they're saying, well, no, we need 2 extra years to do this investigation into historical UFO events. Why? Why, unless they've read Paula and Jacques' book? If they have done, then that could explain it. That would explain why they've added these 2 extra years backwards in time from the original cutoff point, which is Project Sign. That, I think, is remarkable. It really, really is. So that was quite something. That was quite something to wake up to the day after I published this video saying, so is that it? Just one thing I want to read you now. I want to read you, this is going to be very controversial, and I know a couple of people have blacklisted this for me, but I wrote an open letter to Vladimir Putin. I want to read this to you. I actually wrote this on the 10th of January, and I'll read it to you now, and then I think that's all you need to put into this video. I don't want it to be too long. Dear comrade and president, here in Britain, some of us just believe what we're told by the media and others, but not all of us do. You'd be surprised how many can still make up their own minds. All the media tells us Russia's side of the story concerning the current operation in Ukraine is banned from our television sets. Brackets, luckily it can still be found online, close brackets. Which is true, you could never completely ban these things. I watch RT on Odyssey. Very few people have read your July 2021 article about Russia's position in relation to the rest of the world. I cover that in my debate with Bowler Hatman and several other publications, actually. I mentioned this, I think, with my interview with Nick Colostrom. Very few people feel any sympathy with your position because we have had your side of the story suppressed by the lying Western media. all we hear is Ukraine good, Russia bad, Ukraine good, Russia bad, Ukraine good, Russia bad. No other narrative is permitted. Now that's all, isn't it, as an aside? During like the Gulf War and the Iraq War, you know, the government went in, they started a war. There was dissent within the mainstream sphere. There was dissent. There were debates on TV, on BBC and ITV, between critics of the war and supporters of it. Not this time. This campaign, this proxy war in Ukraine, there is only one side to the story permitted in the mainstream. The other side is basically, it's pushed out of the mainstream. It's pushed into the realm of fascism, Putin apologistics. Oh, don't you care about the people of Ukraine? Boo-hoo, that kind of thing. So I'll carry on with the letter. Unlike most national leaders, you are not in the pockets of the global deep state. You refused the World Bank loan in 2008. You refused to turn your country into the post-Soviet liberal democracy. Liberal democracy. I can't do the thing at the moment because of my voice. That the West wanted Russia to be. Just another place to sell Pepsi and provide sweatshop labor. You've protected the children of your country from politically correct indoctrination and have made a stand for Russian traditional family values and cultural standards. You are banking in gold and cryptocurrency. You are setting up friendly economic relations with neutral countries. However, there is one more move you could make that would mean total victory, not just for Russia, but for the whole of humanity. It would improve the world unlike anything else you could do right now, and would end the Illuminati tyranny that hates your country once and for all. Disclose the information you have on UFOs. I know your government has it. Of course, UFOs are not just an American phenomenon, they are worldwide. Russia has many equivalent examples of the Roswell incident of 1947. For example, a flying saucer crashed just outside Yekaterinburg in 1967. Another landed in Voronezh in 1989. Your own Prime Minister, Dmitry Medvedev, was once recorded talking about how you carry information on UFOs around with you. My advice to you is disclose this information now. You don't have to tell us all of it in one go, just enough about the decisive physical evidence to prove that we are being visited by a non-human intelligence. If you do that, then Russia will no longer have to worry about Ukraine or NATO or the European Union or anything like that ever again. She will take her place in history as the greatest nation on earth. Mr. President, you are not like other statesmen. I believe you care about your people and have the courage and sense of decency to take action and make sacrifices. For the sake of Russia and for the sake of the world, do disclosure. Best wishes, Ben Emily Jones, Oxford, UK. So that's what I wrote. So yeah, I hope you found that interesting. That's really all I have to add at this particular point. Of course, this whole situation could change. I mean, as I've said on previous videos, a week is a long time in exopolitics. I mean, I think the one lesson we can take from this whole affair, if this is indeed the last video I ever make on this particular subject before it just vanishes down the memory hole, hopefully to resurface in 31 years when a whistleblower comes forward like Jesse Marcel, but I hope not that long. But you see, one thing I think this affair has taught us is that it's not just a week that's a long time in exit politics. You know, hours are a long time. The disclosure with a capital D could literally burst out of nowhere. It could happen this evening, tomorrow. It could happen at any time with no real warning. And this could be any kind of disclosure, including fake disclosure. I don't know if this is not some kind of massive social experiment. This whole thing may be the last card, a prelude to a fake alien invasion. I don't know. Or it could be that the white hats have taken control of the truth embargo, which would be wonderful if that's the case. It means that then we're going through a kind of 17th letter education program to bring us into the post-disclosure world. I mean, Stephen Cambion, actually, in his video, he does go through these possibilities himself at the end of that very long video I showed you. If you want to watch the whole thing, it's on his channel. But he believes that the the ideal situation that I mentioned, that the white hats are now controlling the truth embargo, and we're getting disclosure because these are real aliens, etc. He thinks that's the least likely. I think it's the most likely. Now, I don't say that is the only possibility. I don't want anyone misquoting me and polarizing me ever again, because that really pissed me off when someone did that. I'm not saying it's definitely aliens, but I'm saying it could well be. So with that being said, the next video will be at some point. It may even be about UFOs again. It all depends on what happens. But thank you all of you for watching Hapanwo TV. Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity. Stop the New World Order.